Welcome to Search for Signs. My name is Gary Willing. If this information interests you, please press the like and subscribe button and press the bell for notifications. In this next video, I want to talk about an experience I had a few years back, but it's also an introduction to one of Maitreya's core teachings, which is honesty of mind, sincerity of spirit, and detachment. The hardest of these is probably detachment. Now they all are intertwined, so you have to be detached to have sincerity of spirit or honesty of mind for sure, right? And you can't be dishonest of mind and be detached, you see? But a number of years ago, I started doing radio interviews, and this was back 94 maybe, 95, and I wanted to call every AM station in the country, and I wanted to kind of keep it organized. So what I did was I went to Office Depot and I got this CD of the Yellow Pages. That's how long ago it was, because Google wasn't even around yet. And I would print off all the AM stations in a state, and then I would actually call them. And if I called that state, I bought a little laminated map of the country, and I'd put a push pin in there. And if I got an interview, I would put a flag on it. Now this is actually the picture of the pins that I used. As you can see, the flags and stuff like this. So what had happened was, and why this is a lesson of detachment, is because I would put in, I'd call South Carolina, or I'd call Georgia, or call Florida, or call Alabama, and if I got a interview in that state, I put a flag in it instead of just the regular pin. And I started thinking to myself, wow, I called 5 states and I got 1 call. Well, that's how many percentage? I don't know, 20%, something like that. And if it kind of, if I got 2 interviews in a state, I started to, feel better about myself or whatever. And the whole time this was going on in my mind, a thought started to occur. Just let go of the results of it. Be detached. Just talk to whoever's willing to listen. And if you don't get an interview, you don't get an interview, but just don't get all hung up on the results. So I had a little computer stand that kind of looked like this. It didn't look exactly like this, but you get an idea. And just to the right of the keyboard was this little cubby. Now, the map itself was pinned to the computer stand, but in this little cubby is where I kept the box that had all my pins. And I did that because I was petrified that I would drop a pin in my carpet and it would stab me in the foot or something. So anyway, this later on that year, I actually made some calls on behalf of Benjamin Creme. He was coming into town for his annual tour, and I called this radio station in Alaska, and the guy knew about Ben. He was really excited about it. It was I think the name of the call letters of the station were KCHU, which I remember it because he said it was the sneeze from Valdez. Anywho, I got an interview for Ben. He was really excited about it. I was really excited to get an interview for Ben, and I went to go put the flag in Alaska. Right, that was my goal, is the flag. Right. Well, anyway, when I reached into the cubby where I always kept my little plastic container that I kept these pins, it was gone. I couldn't find the box. And I looked all around. I lifted up the papers in there. I remember taking all the papers totally out of the cubby. I was like, did I bury it by mistake? I pulled the whole computer stand out from the wall, looked underneath it, behind it. I looked underneath the bed. I looked everywhere, could not find it. And I had to go to work that day. And I left. And I remember thinking of a story that I read in Benjamin Creme's book, The Reappearance of the Christ and the Masters of Wisdom. Well, the story kind of goes like this from what I remember, is apparently he used to smoke, and his master, who he communicated with telepathically on a moment-to-moment basis, did not like him smoking. And kept encouraging him to stop. And he had thought for one moment that he was going to, where are my cigarettes? Well, they were gone. He always left them on the nightstand, he said. And he turned around and they were gone. And he asked his master if he had done something with them. His master said, "Oh, no, I didn't do anything with those. And then he thought to himself, well, I'll just pick some up on the way, wherever I'm going. And he turned back around and they were there. And I remember this story, and I started to think about what happened with me with the pin box and the message I kept getting in my mind about just being detached from the results. And I said something to Maitreya. I was like, if you did something with that pin box to make it disappear for a lesson, I got it. I understand now. I promise I'll pull all the pins out of the map and I won't use it again. And if I could just have that box back so I could put the pins back in it, that would be great. And so when I got home from work, I took all the pins out and I put it in my coffee cup because I didn't want anything to fall into the carpet, right? And I went to work that night playing music at the hotel that I used to play at 5 nights a week. And when I got back home from my music gig, I kind of forgot all about it. Anyway, I sat down at my computer station and I looked over to the right, and right on top of all my papers was the box with those pins in it. And so, he obviously made it disappear and reappear, which I thought was really kind of interesting. So these masters, like Maitreya, like Jesus, they never waste a moment in trying to teach us something. And it's amazing how these little pins that I was thinking was just some, innocuous little plan that I had was a big lesson for me and in detachment. So thank you for letting me share this experience with you and sharing my side of the story with you. And I look forward to talking to you again in future videos.